KDJ's weekly picks on Game Day 1 are brought to you by Veolia and White Plains Hospital.
The Section 1 football championships are finally here. We start this weekend, 5 games at Mahopac High School, beginning with our 3 p.m. game on Friday, and that is the Class D championship, Tuckahoe taking on Haldane. Yes, they meet again for the Class D championship. Last year, Haldane ended the losing streak, beat Tuckahoe. Not really an upset, 2 very evenly matched teams, very good football game, down to the wire, which Haldane won to win the title. And now the rematch this year, very different. Both teams obviously graduated so many players from last year. Haldane, of course, graduated the most with all the players they lost. They are a very solid team, and you expect that at this point with Haldane, with what the program has become. Talking to Coach Ryan McConville this week, entirely new group of players in. They have them rolling into this championship and playing good football, better football than they played earlier in the season when they lost 12-6 at Tuckahoe, night game. Great atmosphere, and it was a good learning experience for this Haldane team. Tuckahoe that night, 12-6, yes, but remember, Connor Bryce didn't play in that game, and that's a very big key. He had 5 touchdowns in their Week 0 win over Chester and got hurt in that game and hasn't played since. So the question now is, Tuckahoe Haldane championship game, if Connor Bryce is playing, now he's cleared to play. He was cleared to play the last couple weeks. He did not actually step on the field and take any reps, but he's been in practice. If he plays, Tuckahoe, in my opinion, is a decided favorite. I would say maybe a touchdown and a half favorite. I think that they are better when he's on the field. But what I've also noticed with this Tuckahoe team is how good their 2 running backs have become. Logan Baghetti and Declan Connolly. The 2 of them over 600 yards for the season. Coach John Diarco has praised those 2 and how they've worked together. They're tough, physical running backs. And, you hoped one of them was going to emerge this season as the main back, and even better, both of them have been terrific. Now you're going to throw Connor Bryce back in at quarterback, and this Tuckahoe team looks really solid. Now the question is, as we keep saying, is Connor Bryce healthy, able to play, and will he be in game shape? So Haldane's going to probably be planning for him to be out there taking full reps and being ready to go, and as they should. Haldane we've seen Brody Corliss, and the players on this team. Falou Faye is really the guy for them he's the game changer. If Falou Faye can get Falou Faye the football in space, Tuckahoe's going to have a hard time slowing him down. I could see Haldane, Tuckahoe, this game being sort of maybe tied at the half, 14-14, and Faye having 2 big touchdowns. Tuckahoe's going to have to really emphasize their defense on slowing him down. So who wins? I think both these teams, you can make a compelling case for each. But I'm going to go Tuckahoe because I do feel that Connor Bryce, even if he's not 100%, even if he doesn't play every single snap on offense, I think his presence is going to give Tuckahoe the boost. I think the Tigers win. They get back on top in Section 1 and Class D, move on to the state tournament. I think they win 29-24. Good football game. I know I said that they're a touchdown favorite. I do think that Haldane is going to stay close in this game, as they always do. They'll have some wrinkles, they'll do some things, but I think Tuckahoe at the end of the day wins the Section 1 Class D title. Friday night, we got this next game, Rye-Somers, 2 defending state champions. First time ever that defending state champions are going to meet in a Section 1 championship. They're both undefeated. They're both ranked at the top in the New York State Sports Writers poll. They are both, again, you can make really good case for both these teams as being the winner of this game, winning a state championship. The key, though, is winning this game. And I'm not going to read too much into last week. We'll start with Somers. I'm not going to read too much into last week. Yes, they played a Harrison team that they beat 40-3 in the regular season. They're rolling into the semifinals, and then they were on the verge of losing that game on a couple occasions. Down 6-0 in the fourth quarter, needed a touchdown pass, and a miraculous 4th down touchdown catch by Dean Palazzolo from Miguel Iglesias, threw a great ball. But that tied the game up at 6-6, and they had to go out on the field and score again, and they did. They had made some great defensive stops. I will say that if you're going to be one of those people that's going to match scores back and forth, yeah, you're going to say, well, Rye now is a favorite. They beat Harrison handily 2 weeks ago. I think this was the best thing possible for Somers in that they really hadn't been tested. Not since their Week 0 win over Ramapo of New Jersey. This was important that we saw kind of what Somers was made of, and we saw it in a big way. Mason Kelly, I give him a lot of credit. He took the reins in this game in the second half, running the football, and just this physical front that Harrison had They made him pay. Every time he touched the football, he got hit hard, and he kept going. He now has this team in the section championship, trying to win a 4th in a row, 2-time defending state champions, of course. And then you go to the Rye side. Now, there was points of the year, I watched the Rye-Yorktown regular season game where I thought, man, something's just missing for Rye. Obviously, we knew missing was Chris Iuliano, their star running back. He didn't play in the Yorktown game the first time around. I thought there was just maybe something on the defensive side. I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. They've looked really good the last 2 weeks, especially now with Chris Iuliano back. He changes everything on both sides of the ball. Maybe he was what was missing. We talk about him as a running back and how he really completes the offense and really kind of balances them out on offense. They might have missed him more on defense. He is so good in the middle of this secondary. And, Rye goes into this championship game, a very poised team. Now, it's easy to go back in time and look at what Rye did last year. Obviously, the regular season, lost 2 games in the regular season. Lost to Harris, lost to Pleasantville. They stomped everybody on the way to a state championship down in Class B. They seem to be following a bit of a similar pattern this year and how they're getting better and better. The 2 Yorktown games, they're 3 weeks apart. They were 2 very different games. Rye completely controlled Yorktown in the semifinals this past weekend. So I think going into this game, I think we see Somers got really the test and the mental reset that they really needed. And I think Rye, we're watching them play their best football. So who wins? I had a hard time with this one, and as everyone should. I'm going into this. I went into this season saying at the end of the day it'll be Somers. I went into the playoffs saying it's going to end up being Somers. I go into championship weekend saying I really don't know. I'm going to stick with Somers, but nothing is going to surprise me. Nothing is this whole weekend. None of these 5 champions, whoever wins, there's any combination, nothing will surprise me. I think Somers finds a way late in this game. I think the one thing that Rye could have a hard time with is slowing down Dean Palazzolo and keeping the football out of his hands. They just haven't seen anyone really like him all season long. Tyler Galante was probably the closest from Yorktown, and they had a hard time stopping him in the first meeting. They figured him out the second time around. They're seeing Dean Palazzolo for the first time this regular season. I think Somers wins this game. I think we're going to have an incredible game. I'm going to say 31-28. I might even say overtime, but I'm not going to say overtime just yet because you don't predict overtime. But that's who I see. So right now, I see on Friday, Tuckahoe and Somers winning Section 1 championships. Now let's go to our Saturday slate. Triple header, all 3 games, as we said, at Mahopac. And you can watch all these games, of course, on NBC's Sports Engine Play, which Local Live will be providing for them, and I will be on the game broadcast. So Saturday afternoon's game is Valhalla and Dobbs Ferry. Again, probably not what you expected when you looked at, and we've talked about ad nauseum about Dobbs Ferry's incredible win this past week. We got to push that to the side a little bit now and focus on a championship, and where they're going to have their hands full. Dan DiMatteo taking over as Valhalla's head coach. I knew coming into the year that they were in good hands. They've been in good hands the last couple of seasons, obviously, with Art Troilo, a longtime Harrison coach and a legendary Westchester Sports Hall of Famer. Dan DiMatteo, I felt like they weren't going to skip a beat. And in some ways, with what they are doing now and the way that this team is built, they're better. Their offense is running better with Coach DiMatteo because this team, this personnel, when I watched them the first time a couple weeks ago, I said, man, this team looks like they were built to run the wing T. And that's what obviously Danny DiMatteo does. And Luke Foysette and the running backs they have around him, they are a very complete football team. They are physical, man. I can't believe the physicality that they play with as for a Class C team. And they are challenging. They're going to challenge Dobbs Ferry in all ways. Now, when you look at the Dobbs Ferry side of the ball, you look at what they did last week. They walked into Putt Valley like they were the team favored by multiple touchdowns, and they played like it and blew out Putt Valley. Kevin Hartnett is a great leader of this team. They only have 4 seniors on this squad. So this was a team that, when you look back and you say, man, I think to myself, I should have maybe thought about picking Dobbs, even though despite the score of the Putt Valley game, just because they were just getting better every week. And they kind of had like a weird circumstance of how things unfolded in the first matchup. Clean slate, new game. We saw them come out very confident in this game. They're a very good team up front. I think they can handle the physicality of Valhalla. Can they score with Valhalla? That's going to be the question. So I'm going to say Valhalla wins this game. They're going to win, I'm going to say 27-14, 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to just kind of wear Dallas Ferry out, maybe score a late touchdown to make this a bigger spread of points at the end than maybe the game will indicate. But I think Valhalla is just so good at what Valhalla does, and they deliver the first section championship to Coach Dan DiMatteo. So congratulations, preemptively, congratulations to Coach DiMatteo. Long way to go, obviously, to play the whole game. Class B game, this is where things get awesome. I mean, obviously, Friday night, we're going to have the Rye-Somers game. The Class B game, Pleasantville and Ardsley, this is just fun football because both of these teams, there's 3 teams in the playoffs, and we'll talk about the third one next, that lost to 2 teams in the regular season. 2 that they beat in the championship and beat in the playoffs to get to the championship. Pleasantville did it. Ardsley did it. To have 2 teams get revenge, we talked about the revenge tour of Pleasantville. Ardsley's on a little revenge tour themselves, and they have played great football. I was at the Bronxville game. We'll start with Ardsley. I was at the Bronxville game on Saturday, and they were a different team than the one I saw right in the regular season. And the number one thing, and it's hard to kind of, you can't really quantify some stats, they're just tougher. They're just tougher and smarter of a football team. I give all the credit to Dan DeFalco and his staff because it's hard. You can get kids, players to get their timing better, to get their work ethic better, get physical strong. But to make them tougher is not something you can easily do over the course of a season. You can maybe can't even do it over the course of a lifetime. But they have gotten this team to be confident in themselves, and that's really what it is. They were a very confident defensive team. They went out there and, on both sides of the ball, just didn't back down from Bronxville for 1 second. Took the opening kickoff, drove down the field, converted a couple of 4th downs, including the touchdown run. Amadi Dulcine, who scored the touchdown to start the game for ours to get him ahead 7-0, he got absolutely walloped at the goal line and still got across on 4th down. So I just feel that this Ardsley team is very dangerous in that they seem like they got nothing to lose. I went and spoke to them this week, obviously, as we do our camp tours on game day 1, and really just felt like, man, I'm looking at a team that, we could say all we want about records and who was supposed to be here, who wasn't, who pulled off upsets. They act like a team that was supposed to be here this entire time, and they are here. So they're a dangerous team going to the championship, but toughness and smarts is the only way that you're going to beat Pleasantville. And when you look at what Pleasantville does and how they got to this point by putting the ball in Louis Sadow's hands and letting him run the Wildcat, you put number 44 basically a quarterback, and you say, lead us, Louis, and that's what he's done. Louis Sadow has been the most valuable player to any team in the postseason, and I say that with all due respect to the players, Jaquan Johnson of North Rockland, all you guys. I just feel that Sadow takes Sadow off Pleasantville. They're not playing last weekend, let alone this weekend. So Sadow is kind of fit perfectly for this, and I talked about this in the 5 stars video, in that he got hurt in the week 1 game, broke his finger against Bronxville. He wanted to come back in. They wouldn't let him go back in. He missed some time. He wasn't totally himself, and now he's himself. And I give him a lot of credit because they put the football in his hands. And when you watch against Westlake was a physical, tough team on both sides of the ball, and he took a beating. He still came through with 96 yards, basically averaged like 3 yards a carry, which isn't great, but just lowered his shoulders and just ran guys over and got into the end zone once, 14-0 win, and was a key part of the defense. I just look at Pleasantville all around, Hazinski, Reish, Sadow, names of players who've kind of been through all this before, been through the ups of making it to the state championship game, losing in the section championship game. McPhee's another one. This Pleasantville team, they have that nice base of good experience and tough experience, and now here they are trying to make their own experience. So I give Pleasantville a lot of credit to get here. They're gonna have a tough time. I just don't know if Westlake could not get, they were in, watching the game, watching them run the Wildcat, Pleasantville. Westlake was there, but they just couldn't get that, preventing them from getting that yard, that extra 2 yards on 2nd and 6 that made a 3rd manageable. I think Ardsley is going to stop drives better than Westlake did. I just feel like they're just, what I saw against Bronxville, they do the same thing they did against Bronxville. They'll be able to do it against Pleasantville. They shut down a great running game with a superior offensive line at Bronxville. This is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be the first team to 14 points. I think we're going to look at 2 very methodical teams that are going to, in a low-scoring game, I'm going to give the edge. I'm going to give it to Pleasantville. They have beaten Ardsley in the regular season in a very similar style of game. I think that they do what they do so well. I'm going to say 16-14. I said 14 points, but 16-14. I think Pleasantville wins. They get back on top in Section 1 in Class B. Now, finally, we get to our AA game, the nightcap on Saturday night, 6 p.m. Mamaroneck taking on North Rockland. North Rockland hasn't won a section championship, which in North Rockland years feels like forever. Mamaroneck has never won a Section 1 championship and made it to the state tournament. So just a huge game for both programs. I think for two terrific coaches, James Hickey, North Rockland, Anthony Vitti, and Mamaroneck, two guys that have, they've weathered the years of New Shell and Mamaroneck did New Shell domination. James Hickey's now come on the last couple of seasons at North Rockland, and he's kind of rebuilt things and got his guys to buy in. And, the progression that both teams took this season to get to this point, both teams kind of had a real bit rough start. Mamaroneck, started the season, they won in week 0, but they lost to Scarsdale. They had some injuries, a lot of injuries. They beat North Rockland to kind of get themselves on track, but a little bit of a dip throughout the season. Lost to John Jay's Fishkill late in the year. Then they get to the playoffs, and they go and beat two teams that beat them in the regular season, Suffern and Scarsdale. And it is impressive to watch this. And talking with the Mamaroneck players, we talk about teams and getting a good vibe from them at practice. This is a very focused Mamaroneck team, and this is a very mature team. This is a team that kind of understands that maybe the bad will lead to some great things that they had. They also just feel when they are 100% healthy, which they still kind of aren't, but when they are healthy enough, they can win, and they could beat anybody in Class AA, including North Rockland, who they beat obviously back in week 2. North Rockland now is a team with major revenge on their mind, and the turning point of the season was when they lost to Mamaroneck on the road in a game 20-14 where they never had the football. I mean, they think they had the football. They were like 7 plays or something in the entire second half of that game. And Mamaroneck, give them all the credit. Kieran Jacobson running the football. He's a great passer. Running the football in that game, spreading the ball around to their backs and just converting every single third down and some fourth downs that they needed to, because the whole game plan was to keep Jaquan Johnson and this North Rockland team off the field on offense. It's really hard to do that 2 times. I just don't know if Mamaroneck can do that again. You need things to kind of break the perfect way. It is so hard to pick against Mamaroneck, but what I've seen the last few weeks, Jaquan Johnson has been great all season long, but there's other guys in the offense that have figured out their roles and how to complement him, and it really takes a lot of pressure off of him. The defense, though, is the difference. I think the North Rockland defense, what I saw what they did against Carmel, they've now posted 3 shutouts in a row. North Rockland defensively is just taking the game to a different level, and I think that level is going to be a championship level. My pick to win the Class AA championship, I like North Rockland to get their revenge over Mamaroneck and win the Class AA championship, first time since 2012, and they're going to 2011 to win the Section 1 championship, and they do it with a 28-21 score, and North Rockland. So my 5 championship picks, I feel good about none of them, by the way. I like Tuckahoe, I like Somers, Valhalla, Pleasantville, and North Rockland. Tell me your picks. Thanks for watching our show. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. Drop some comments in there. Follow us on YouTube. Watch us this weekend. As we said, Local Live, powering the broadcast on NBC's Sports Edge and Play. There is a fee to watch the games for the first time this year. Just remember, you're supporting Section 1 Sports if you pay that fee, and check it out.